which is the anatomy of the esophagus and its clinical importance. The first part which we'll be discussing is the constriction of the esophagus. So there are four constriction of the esophagus. First is the cricopharyngeal constriction. Second is the aortic constriction. Third is the bronchial constriction, and fourth is the constriction where the esophagus pierces the diaphragm. Okay, so cricopharyngeal constriction, aortic constriction, bronchial constriction, and the part where esophagus pierces the diaphragm. These are the four constriction. They'll be asking you what is the distance of particular constrictor from the incisor teeth. Okay, so distance are these. The first constrictor is present 15 cm away, second is present 25 cm away, third is present at 28 cm away, and fourth is present at 40 cm away. What is the importance of knowing these constrictors? So whenever there is a endoscopy done or instrumentation done in the esophagus, these are the site where resistance will be felt. Okay, these are the site where the esophagus will be narrow, and among all these constrictor or all these constricted site, cricopharynx is the most narrowest part. It is the narrowest part of the esophagus, and that's why it is the most common site for foreign body impaction. It is the most common site for esophageal perforation also. Okay, so remember the constrictor of the esophagus. Our next topic is diaphragmatic opening. There are various opening in the diaphragm, but the three most important opening is inferior vena cava opening, then esophageal opening, and aortic opening. Inferior vena cava opening is present at the T8 level, esophageal opening is present at the T10, and aortic opening is present at the level of T12. Okay, so this is the different opening present. The biggest one is the caval opening, which gives way to the inferior vena cava. Then second is the from anterior to posterior, second is the esophageal hiatus, and then posterior most is the aortic hiatus, which is present at the T12 level. So mnemonic to remember the level of the diaphragmatic opening is I8 10x at 12 noon. Okay, so I 8 10 x at 12 noon. IVC is present at the T8. IVC is present at the T8. Esophagus is present at the T10, and aorta and the thoracic duct, aorta and thoracic duct is present at the T12. Remember friends, IVC also, the IVC opening also gives a way to the another structure, which is phrenic nerve. Phrenic nerve also passes from the caval hiatus. Esophageal hiatus also give way to the left gastric artery. And from the aortic opening, there is a vein passes through the aortic opening, and this is azygous vein. So one nerve, one artery, and one vein passes from all these three openings. So I have given all the different opening. Among that, caval opening, esophageal opening, and aortic opening we have discussed. Just behind the diaphragm there are crural opening. So this is the medial crura of the diaphragm, and this is the lateral crura of the diaphragm. There are some structures which are present behind the medial crura, and there are some structures which are present behind the lateral crura. Okay, so behind the medial crura you have sympathetic chain, and behind the lateral crura you have subcostal neurovascular bundle. When the diaphragm attaches to the ribs anteriorly, there is a small opening in the anterior part. Okay, there is a small opening in the anterior part. This is known as anterior hiatus. This is known as anterior hiatus. Anterior hiatus contains superior epigastric artery and the vein. Superior epigastric artery in the vein. So these are all opening: caval opening, esophageal opening, aortic opening, medial crura, space behind the medial crura, space behind the lateral crura, and the anterior hiatus. Okay, these are all diaphragmatic openings and their relationship. Our next topic is the pharyngoesophageal junction. Pharyngoesophageal junction is nothing but the superior, it is the upper sphincter or superior sphincter of the esophagus. Okay, so at the pharyngoesophageal junction, most of the foreign body impaction occur. And why? So there are various questions related to this junction. For example, narrowest part of the esophagus is, answer will be pharyngoesophageal junction. Which is the most common site for the foreign body impaction? Obviously, whatever is the narrowest part of the esophagus, there only foreign body will be getting impacted. When we will be doing the endoscopy, the narrowest part will be getting perforated more commonly. So this is the most common site for the iatrogenic perforation. And what is iatrogenic perforation? It is nothing but perforation during the endoscopy. So this is most common site for perforation during the endoscopy. For all these questions, answer is pharyngoesophageal junction. Okay, and remember friends, pharyngoesophageal junction is not only the narrowest part of the esophagus, but this is the narrowest part of the whole gastrointestinal tract. Okay, this is the narrowest part of the whole gastrointestinal tract. Third concept is segmental blood supply of the esophagus. Esophagus has segmental blood supply. So if we divide the esophagus into three parts, upper one third, middle one third, and lower one third, all three will have different blood supply and venous drainage. Okay, that's why we call it segmental blood supply. The upper one third will have inferior thyroid artery as a blood supply and inferior thyroid vein as a venous drainage. Lower will have left gastric artery as blood supply and left gastric vein as a venous drainage. So vein and artery are of same name: inferior thyroid artery and vein, left gastric artery and vein. The middle part will have very different names. For example, middle part is supplied by descending thoracic aorta and the bronchial artery, and venous drainage is by azygous vein. What is the importance of knowing the segmental blood supply? The first importance is this: we'll try to understand it by the help of this diagram. There is a tear known as Mallory-Weiss tear. Mallory-Weiss tear occur in the lower part of the esophagus. It occur in the lower one third of the esophagus near the gastroesophageal junction. So these are the tear in this picture, and this is the tear in this picture. Okay. So because tear is happening in the lower part of the esophagus, so the bleeding will involve which artery? Bleeding will involve which artery? Answer will be left gastric artery. Bleeding will be from left gastric artery because Mallory-Weiss tear involve lower one third of the esophagus. Next concept is the inferior gastric vein. This is the inferior gastric vein. It drains into portal vein. Inferior gastric vein drains into the portal vein. Okay. So what happens if there is a esophageal cancer in the lower esophagus? If there is a esophageal cancer in the lower esophagus, it can travel to the portal vein, and then it can go and form metastasis into the liver. This is one concept. Second concept is that whenever portal vein pressure will be high, this pressure will be transmitted via the via the left gastric vein, and then there will be formation of the esophageal varices. So esophageal varices happens because portal vein is passing its pressure into the left gastric vein, because they both communicate. So here this is the left gastric vein which is draining into the portal vein. So in the case of the esophageal cancer, if there is a cancer here, then this cancer can lodge itself and form a metastasis into the liver. So this is importance uh, of knowing left gastric vein or segmental blood supply of the esophagus. Concept of the upper esophageal sphincter. In the esophagus, we have two sphincters. One is the upper esophageal sphincter and second is the lower esophageal sphincter. Upper esophageal sphincter is the anatomical sphincter. Okay, there is an anatomical narrowing of the upper esophagus. That's why we call it anatomical sphincter. Lower esophageal sphincter is physiological sphincter. Physiological sphincter means there is an area of high pressure. Due to the pressure, it will be collapsed. There is no true anatomical sphincter present. It is just a physiological sphincter. So let's see about the upper esophageal sphincter, which is the anatomical sphincter. Upper esophageal sphincter is made up of two muscles. One muscle has oblique fiber, this muscle is thyropharyngeus, and second muscle has longitudinal fiber, this is known as cricopharyngeus muscle. So thyropharyngeus and cricopharyngeus, when they meet both sides, there is a potential space formed in between. This space is known as Killian dehiscence. This space is known as Killian dehiscence. This is a space which can be involved in the formation of Zenker's diverticulum. So whenever the esophageal pressure will be high or muscle will be weak in the case of diabetes or in case of the old age, esophagus mucosa and submucosa will protrude. Esophagus mucosa and submucosa will protrude from this dehiscence and it will form Zenker's diverticulum. So Zenker's diverticulum is a pseudo diverticulum. It's a pulsion diverticulum. It happens due to high pressure and it is a pseudo diverticulum because it contains mucosa and submucosa only. It does not contain all the layer of the esophagus and it formed due to high pressure. There is a high pressure due to pulsation or the high pressure. So it's a pseudo or pulsion diverticulum. So this is the barium swallow. In this barium swallow you can see that this part is esophagus, this part is esophagus anterior line and this is the posterior line, and this particular part is protruding and protruded part is causing constriction in the esophagus. So this is the Zenker's diverticulum, which is a pulse pseudo diverticulum. Now we'll talk about the lower esophageal sphincter. As I have told you, it is a physiological sphincter. Okay, there is a no true anatomical sphincter present here, but this is an area of high pressure. And whenever we swallow food, during the swallowing, this sphincter will relax and it will let the entry of food particle from the esophagus to the stomach. But sometime it keeps on relaxing frequently. It will be mostly relaxed. Okay, so if it will be relaxed, then this opening will be opened always. Okay, and if this opening will be opened, then there will be reflux of the gastric content into esophagus. This is known as GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. Okay, this is due to the frequent relaxation of the lower esophageal sphincter. Second anatomy is the when this sphincter which has to open during the food swallowing, if it does not closes at all, if it is chronically closed. If it does not relax at all, then food will accumulate in this particular part and esophagus will dilate and it will keep on dilating. This condition is known as achalasia cardia. Okay, if it does not relax at all, then this will give rise to achalasia cardia. This is the barium swallow picture of achalasia cardia. You can see the dilated part of the esophagus. This is the dilated part of the esophagus, and the part where it will get narrowed, there will be smooth narrowing of the esophagus. This particular appearance is known as bird beak appearance, which is seen in the achalasia cardia. In achalasia cardia, this part is abnormal, narrow part is abnormal because it is not relaxing at all, and this part is normal. This is just dilated esophagus due to accumulation of the food particles. So this was all about the esophagus surgical anatomy. Now we'll solve few MCQs. What is the layer which is absent in the esophagus? I have told you in the previous histology video that layer which is absent in the esophagus is serosa. So our answer is serosa. Strongest layer of the esophagus. This also we have seen in the histology video that strongest layer of the esophagus is submucosa. Distance of LES from the incisor teeth. LES is the site where esophagus enter into the diaphragm. So it will be 40 centimeter. Cricopharyngeal junction is 15 centimeter. Aortic arch is at 25 centimeter. Bronchial constriction is at 28 centimeter. So these are the different constriction in the esophagus. What is the narrowest part of the GIT? Narrowest part of the GIT or the narrowest part of the esophagus, answer is going to be same, which is pharyngoesophageal junction. Pharyngoesophageal junction. This is the site where foreign particle impaction usually occurs. So a ring which is getting impacted at the pharyngoesophageal junction. There is a seed, peach seed, which is getting impacted at the pharyngoesophageal junction, and latter part is constricted because barium is not able to pass into this particular region. Killian dehiscence is potential gap between. We have seen there are oblique fiber of the thyropharyngeus and there are longitudinal fiber of the cricopharyngeus, and in between there is a gap which is known as Killian dehiscence. So thyropharyngeus and cricopharyngeus. So this is going to be our answer.